And while many of former President Donald Trump's political allies have stood by his 2024 candidacy, former Trump administration official Ken Cuccinelli launched the Never Back Down Super PAC, backing Florida Governor Ron DeSantis before DeSantis has even decided to jump into the race. Ken Cuccinelli joins us now. He previously served in the Trump administration as acting DHS Deputy Secretary. Ken, thank you for being here. We appreciate your time.
Good to be with you, Robert.
As you know, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, your political ally, he's not in the race yet, but he is facing some criticism already, not just from former President Donald Trump. Let's hear what former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie had to say in recent days.
And I believe as a conservative, the job of government is in the main to stay out of the business of business. Like, I don't think we should be heavily regulating business. I don't think we should be telling business what to do, what to say, how to think. And I believe that's what conservatives have believed for as long as I've been alive. I don't think Ron DeSantis is a conservative based on his actions towards Disney.
Ken, how's the Super PAC going to respond to that line of criticism?
Well, we've been responding. Nikki Haley's in there with Donald Trump and Chris Christie, and this is a clear difference between those in the field and potentially getting in the field for president. And Ron DeSantis, the reason we're called the Never Back Down PAC is because he never backs down. And this is round 3 with Disney going on right now, and they are truly unique in the country in having not only governance powers over themselves, but also over some of their competitors in the area there around Orlando. And that's being ratcheted back down to the level of every other business in Florida. And Ron DeSantis has made no apologies for that. And I can tell you, Robert, having been in not just the first 4 states, but some of the others as well, base, ordinary, regular Republican voters appreciate his position and his stick-to-itiveness and his willingness to not back down to these woke corporate bullies. And that's how they see Disney right now.
Ken, if the Florida governor gets in the race, will he actually take on former President Trump on policy, on other matters, or will it just be left up to the Super PAC?
Well, I don't actually know the answer to that because Super PACs, by their nature, follow.
But you know him. You know him, Ken.
They're supporting.
Do you expect him to take on Trump directly?
I don't expect anybody can get in a race for president and not expect to use a NASCAR analogy, to swap paint with the other folks in the race. And I fully expect that to happen. Really, the question is more to what degree. When the president has lobbed his name calling and some COVID criticism at Governor DeSantis, he has responded largely by ignoring the president's taunts and so forth and kind of just saying, pointing at the scoreboard, hey, look what I did. Look what we did in Florida. Look at how the freedom agenda played out here in Florida. It worked very well. And this is with everyone, in the expert world in Washington, including President Trump, trying to push him to lock down. He opened Florida back up, and Florida businesses survived and thrived. People moved to Florida for that. It's just one example of how he's differentiated himself based on performance. And he's done it consistent with conservative constitutional principles.
Ken, you're here on CBS News. We appreciate it. Later this week, former President Trump will have a town hall on another network. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, though, has largely avoided traditional news outlets. Do you believe that's a mistake?
So he has 4 of the largest media markets in the country there that have been up in his grill for 5 years. And I think he's done a pretty darn good job with the interactions with them. Again, another thing that Republican grassroots voters appreciate. I fully expect him to take essentially the same strategy nationwide. That automatically means you're engaging many, many, many more outlets. But it doesn't mean that he'll necessarily do it on their terms. He hasn't done it on the media's terms up to this point, and I don't think he's going to feel compelled to start changing what has worked well for the last 5 years.
Do you believe there'll be any cost for that politically, to just largely avoid doing sit-down interviews with traditional news outlets?
So I don't want to predict that he won't do any, but I think there's a cost and a benefit. Look, Robert, we on the right view most of the mainstream media as not independent or objective. They are out to support in one way or another, directly or indirectly, the left, in this case, the Democrat Party.
That's
and
not true.
So, would you sit down? You can deny it all you want, but that's the right's view of the media, including it would judging by observation, the governors as well. Why would you sit down with your opponents and give them free shots? That, I think, is a lot of the mentality on the right. And until the media demonstrates that they're actually going to be objective and demonstrably so, I think it's going to be a while for that perspective to change. And that's frankly,
well, we appreciate his super PAC
that I
being
think
here
is a
on
very
CBS.
fair way of putting it.
Well, his super PAC leaders like yourself are able to chat with a traditional news outlet, which we appreciate. We'd welcome him anytime. He's been attacked relentlessly by the former president. Is there any chance he decides not to run? You know him well. I know you're not directly communicating with him, but do you think there's any chance he backs away from this race?
I've never seen anybody do all the things he's done up to now and not run. So, yes, it's possible, but I think that's very unlikely. And, of course, we're preparing for him to get in, hoping he'll get in, doing more on the ground than anybody has ever done this early. We knocked 1,000 doors in Iowa on Saturday, and we have staff in all of the first 4 states already working with the grassroots in those states. So we're building in the hopes he does get in, and there is a great deal of pent-up demand for the kind of performance and conservative principles that he brings to the fight. And, looking past the primary, Joe Biden, you were talking about the debt ceiling and his polling. America has a lot of legitimate questions about the president, and some people are pretty shocked he's even running for re-election. And my prediction, and I'll say it to you, Robert, is that I don't think if Ron DeSantis is the Republican nominee that Joe Biden will stand up and debate him. They'll find reasons not to debate him because I don't think that they believe themselves that he can go toe-to-toe with Governor DeSantis and his track record.
Ken Cuccinelli, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it.